a general way, set the political atmosphere. What was it like in Washington in those days leading up to the Watergate story breaking?
Well, Nixon was ahead. It was a sure thing as far as he and his pollsters could tell. They were going to win in 72, and of course they did. They carried, what, 49 states, won 49 states. So it was a big victory. And so when Watergate occurred, the conventional wisdom was, well, why would Republicans or Nixon do that? Because they were so much ahead. And the answer was they didn't know they were that much ahead. And it was a mentality, which is the Nixon mentality of do anything. The law is not something to be obeyed. It's a barrier to political success. And so they undertook the Watergate operations. And what's so important to understand, and something I quite frankly didn't understand at the time, this was a highly illegal break-in. It was not just the sort of political shenanigans in Washington that are not on the surface or under the surface illegal. This was clearly a breaking and entering into somebody's private office, in this case, the Democrats. So that investigation was not just about normal business in Washington, it was about a crime.
In telling the story and in investigating the story, the fundamental pact, I guess, between journalists and the public is based on trust. And in those days, there was a great deal more trust about the media than there is today. But nevertheless, this must have been a hard story to tell and maintain that trust.
Well, of course, there was a lot of distrust and suspicion. A lot of people thought, oh, what we're doing, investigating Watergate, it is politically motivated. More sophisticated people said, well, yeah, Nixon's probably behind it, but no one is ever going to find out the facts. There's such a barrier in the Nixon White House to cover up and conceal and not let anyone find out what's really going on.
When did you realize in that process, you and Carl, when did you realize that you were actually dealing with something that could lead to the end of a presidency?
Well, there were all kinds of clues, the intensity of the denials, the fact that one of our sources, Mark Felt, who was number 2 in the FBI, was known as Deep Throat in the newsroom, that he insisted on meeting in an underground parking garage at 3 a.m. I had not been a reporter that long, and so my attitude, okay, he wants to do that, fine with me. Of course, it was unique, but it was a reflection on the worry they had in the FBI that Nixon would find out that they're trying to provide information to the press.
Could a Watergate level story bring down a president today?
Yes, it would all depend on the evidence. It would have to be very hard. There would be lots of resistance, but there was lots of resistance in Watergate, and if you have the right owners and leaders in a news organization or special prosecutor's office, I I think you could even do it today.
What's the overriding lesson of Watergate when one looks back now, all these years later? What was the lesson of Watergate?
The real lesson is have Ben Bradley as editor and Katharine Graham as the owner of the Washington Post. There came a point later in the investigation where the Republican Party, in a civil suit, was asking for the notes that Carl Bernstein and I had and subpoenaed them. And the question was, what should we do? Ben Bradley, the editor, talked to Katharine Graham, the publisher and owner, who had the backbone of 100 soldiers. Her what she said is amazing. She said to Ben, "Those aren't Bernstein and Woodward's notes or the editor's notes. They're mine. I own them. And so they're going to have to come after me." And Ben was gleeful about this because they realized that if it came down to a real crunch and they subpoenaed Katharine Graham for the notes and tried to send her to jail, she would be pulling up to the DC Women's Detention Center in her limousine and getting out. And as Ben said, that picture would run everywhere in the country and the world. The owner, as he put it, our gal, standing up for the First Amendment.
How many times have you seen the movie?
Just, I think, 3 times. Once, once with my young daughter and Ben Bradley's young son, Quinn Bradley. And when the movie was showing, Quinn turned to Ben Bradley, his father, and there was a scene with a typewriter. And Quinn said, "What's that?" "That's a typewriter." That was the way we did it 50 years ago.
Did you enjoy the movie?
Yes, it got it right in detail, and it captured the atmosphere of being beleaguered and under attack, and about strong leadership.